If you are experiencing jamming issues with your Mossberg 715T, like the one shown here, then there's a good chance that the solution suggested in this presentation will solve the problem. More than likely, the issue is caused by an extractor spring that does not have sufficient compression to properly extract the spent round. The incoming round hits the extracted casing before it can be ejected to create the issue shown here. Just a slight difference in compression can result in a significant difference in the gun's performance. A possible solution would be to replace the spring with one of slightly greater compression. The Mossberg springs are pretty standard, so I don't think that getting another spring from Mossberg will solve the problem. I have tried to locate an appropriate spring, but was not successful. This presentation will suggest an alternate solution using an easy-to-make spacer that will be inserted into the extractor spring hole. Its purpose is to slightly increase the spring compression. Prior to making this modification, I had a lot of problems with this gun. It was sent to Mossberg for repair, but the problem was not fixed. With 10-round magazines, jamming occurred at least once per every 10 rounds. With 25-round magazines, jamming occurred on the average of every third or fourth round. After I made the modification, the gun seems to be trouble-free. I have been to the range a couple of times and fired between 350 and 400 rounds without a single jam. This modification worked for me, and if you have the same problem with your 715T, I hope that it works for you. The first step is to remove the bolt from the gun. To keep this presentation fairly short, this step is not included, but there are YouTube videos to show you how to do it. Be extra careful with the recoil spring when removing the bolt. It has a tendency to easily kink or bend if not done properly. The second step is to remove the extractor from the bolt by gently tapping the pin from the top so it comes out the bottom. When removing the extractor, place your finger over the spring hole to keep the spring from flying out. Both the pin and spring are tiny and could be hard to find if they fall on the floor. Here are the tools that you will need: an electric drill, wire cutters, a light hammer, a file, a punch of the appropriate size, a micrometer, and a nail to make the spacer. The pin that holds the extractor is a tiny roll pin, 1/16 of an inch in diameter. The micrometer is not absolutely necessary, but will be helpful if you have one. After the bolt is removed from the gun, we'll proceed to remove the extractor from the bolt. This is the extractor channel here. The front of the extractor, and this is the hole where the spring resides. And on top here is the pin that we need to remove. This is a rolled pin. It's 1/16 of an inch in diameter. So when you punch it out, make sure you use the correct punch to not go inside the roll pin, and push it out gently from the top to the bottom. So we'll proceed to do that. We'll take the punch and tap it gently. Until it comes out the bottom. Hold your finger over the spring hole so the spring doesn't fly out, and you'll see that the pin here came out the bottom. And then remove the extractor here, and then remove the spring. Now what we're going to do is to make a spacer out of a nail head. And we're going to insert this spacer into the spring hole. The purpose is to give the spring a little more compression. So we will proceed doing that. We're going to use a nail to make a spacer that will fit into the spring hole. The purpose of the spacer is to give the spring slightly more compression. In order to get the nail head to the proper diameter so that it can be used as a spacer, we will use a drill and a file. The extractor spring hole has a diameter of 3 millimeters. The spacer needs to fit snugly into the 3 millimeter hole. First thing we will do, we will put the nail into the chuck of the drill. With one hand, I'm going to pull the drill trigger, and with the file, turn down the nail head to the 3 millimeter diameter. This may take a few ins and outs of the drill to get the proper fit, and may take a while depending on the hardness of the nail. If you have a micrometer, that would be helpful, but if you don't, just file it a little more and check the fit. If it doesn't fit, file it a little more. Now, remove the nail out of the drill and take the bolt and check to see if it fits into the hole. And this one does. It fits nicely into the hole. And at this point, we'll take the wire cutters and cut the head off of the nail. And keep your fingers on the end so you don't lose it. And this is what we will use as the spacer. We want to take the little spacer that we made out of the nail head and insert it into the spring hole with the stem side up. So take it and insert it into the hole, and once it's in there, okay, we'll take the spring and insert the spring in the hole. And then take the extractor and line it up and insert the pin from the bottom. Once the pin's in, check the extractor, make sure it moves correctly, and you can take the bolt and put it back into the gun and fire it off, and it should eliminate the problem that we started off with the spent shell not extracting correctly. Thank you. If you have any questions or need more information, please send an email to the email address that's on the following slide. Thank you.